When I first wrote my book, The Super Couple, Formula for Extreme Happiness in Marriage, I set out to find out what super couples had that other couples didn't. Did they have something special? Well, I mean, I knew they had something special, but I had always believed they just got lucky. And, it sucks to be you, everybody else, right? But I did find out, for those of you who have already read the book, that there was in fact a formula. And I was so happy to find that out. Which, of course, once I realized they all acted and did the same things, I started importing that into my own marriage. My husband started reciprocating, and little by little our marriage went from unhappy to happy to very happy. And I don't know that we're extremely happy like my super couples, but dude, I'll take very happy because for a person who had unhappy for so many years, even happy was thrilled. So very happy. Maybe we're on our way to extreme happiness. Maybe I'm there and I don't even know it, but we'll get there. But I wanted to talk about the beginning of my book. What I started it out with were the 6 faulty assumptions, because in all those years that I was searching for what's it take to have an extremely happy marriage, I thought that, it must be because they got married the right way. That was faulty assumption number 1. That's the one I'm talking about today. So when we think about super couples and we think about what do they have, before I realized there was this formula, we all have this idea that there has to be something magic formula ahead of time, right? So my belief, I was 18 when I got married, we were pregnant, that after I was, let's put it this way, I was pregnant, then married, then went to college. And I always used to tell my children, do things the opposite way of me. Go to college, then get engaged, then get married, then have children. After all, it's the way God designed things to be. Of course, plans that are not always work out the way that you want, but that's what I believed. If you do it the right way, then you're going to have a great marriage, or at least the odds are better that you would have a great marriage. So as I interviewed these couples, I found out, no, they were not doing it the right way. Some of the couples, now I'll be honest, just for full disclosure, because I did this book over 10 years ago, I interviewed people who were in second marriages, which, remember, what I was looking for were couples who were extremely happy. And just before I go into it, just remember that 75% of second marriages fail. And the reason I do that is because it's not a marriage unless your first spouse is deceased, because then you're still in a marriage with the first person. The second relationship is not a valid marriage. But nonetheless, I interviewed some of those couples, and those who do enter second marriages divorce at a significantly higher rate than people who are in their first covenant marriages, 75%. So, and subsequent marriages even more so. But when I did interview some of them, it was because of how they behaved towards each other, what they considered their level of happiness. Let's just put that aside. The people who I interviewed, they did not all get married the right way. Some of them were pregnant like I was. Some of them eloped. Some of them barely knew each other. Some of them knew each other for 10, 20 years. And they got married later. So I looked at all these, did you do it the right way? More than not, they didn't do what I considered the right way. Fall in love, then get engaged, then get married, then have children. It was backwards for so many of these people. And that's what I want to give to you today. Because if we go into thinking, I screwed it all up, I'm never going to have a happy marriage, then you're never going to have it, because you're going to believe that that had anything to do with your superness. So it doesn't. I've had couples come to me and go, we were just too young, so it was bound to fail. No, because if you've seen my previous video, actually those who marry younger have more marriages that last statistically longer than those who marry older. And I'm talking about, teens and 20s versus, late 30s and 40s. I've had couples come to me and say, we were just too old. We got married in our 40s. Well, guess what? That's not always a surefire way to say the marriage is going to fail or last. You can get married in your 40s. You can get married in your 30s. You can get married in your 20s. I actually had one couple say, I'm 49 and she's 41. I think our age difference finally caught up with us. And I'm like, age difference? We're talking 8 years. We're not talking, 2 decades here. You're the same generation. When we are in painful marriages, when the hurt comes, we're always looking for some excuse to get out. And we're going, hindsight is 20/20. So we're always looking backwards. It had to be this, it had to be that, it had to be this. It wasn't any of those things. The reasons we have bad marriages are that we don't know how to interact while we are in our marriage. We don't know how to love the verb, not love the noun, how to be patient, how to be kind, how to so on and so forth. So faulty assumption number 1, there is no right way to get married. Once you make that decision, once you're in a covenant, your only job then is to love one another and to stay committed till the day you die, because you made a vow that you are. And just because you may wish to end it at some point doesn't mean that it ever ends. Remember, only if you can be unbaptized can you be unmarried. Can't happen. So that's it. That's today's. When you're looking into your marriage, and if you're looking at other people preparing to marry, try not to gauge their marriages from the wrong gauge. Try not to look at it and say, well, they're too young, it's bound to fail. Oh, they're too old, it's bound to fail. They're too this, too that, they did this or that. All we need to look at are teaching them how to interact, how to communicate, what are the foundations. Do you have the same value system? Do you both believe in God? It's best, I did find, kind of jumping ahead in my book, what secular culture calls religious homogamy, which the Christian world calls equally yoked. There are statistical research there saying, yeah, if you're telling people to get married, try to tell a Catholic to marry a Catholic or a Protestant to marry a Protestant. Try to tell a Hindu to marry a Hindu, or so on and so forth, because that makes a big difference. All right, so that's your lesson for today. One of the faulty assumptions on what makes a marriage super. Next video, I'm going to tell you faulty assumption number 2. But until then, go on and make your marriage super. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. You're watching my informational Bacon Bit, and I want to remind you always to live your life sunny side up.